look, Mr. Zaslav. Okay, man, we've made so many cuts. All right, so many cuts. I mean, look at this. Basically, we're working from home, right? We don't have an office anymore. You sold it for tax write-offs. No, I get it. The tax write-off was great. It was good. Yeah, it was really great. But I haven't had time to clean my room. It looks like a shithole. I sold my camera. I've got a shitty camera, man, and I know I released it without your permission. I know. I got that. Yeah. People liked it though. I was right. Yeah. No. I was right. So, okay. Yeah. 86 Shark Tale 2. Sure. Yeah. Will Smith isn't going to be happy about it, but it's got to happen. It's got to happen. So we'll 86 that. It's done. It's a dead project. We'll put that in the trash bin with Scoob 2 and Coyote versus Hackney, and we'll call that a wash. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna get it out soon. It'll be under budget. In fact, right now we're gonna put it out right now. Right. Bye. Oh God, that guy's unbearable. Man. He just keeps trying to cancel everything. I'm literally having to keep from getting canceled right now. Whole YouTube channel on the line. Zaslav is not happy at all. I mean, I'm literally working from home. I haven't had time to clean anything. My room's like a shithole. This is what we have to deal with. This is just a reminder that this is a sequel to the original movie. If you have not watched the first Justice League Dark movie on this channel, I would at least recommend watching that, because otherwise this is going to be incomprehensible. So annotations above for that. We're going to open on the DC Warner Brothers studio logos. They flicker and flash like an old projector screen. In the background, we can hear the sound of spooling reels as footage spins. And we begin to hear the song Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers. Then we open on a theater screen outside with the movie Ghost being projected on it. We pull back further and we can see it's an old drive-in movie screen playing the film. The scene in question is the scene in the movie Ghost where she hugs the ghost near the end of the movie. Only it's different. The woman is the ghost and the man is the one interacting with her. We see text appear on screen that says Inverse Earth, 4 years ago. The camera pulls back until we see a bunch of abandoned cars. Sitting on the hood of one of them is Chemo and Flatline. Flatline says, "This movie doesn't get ghosts right at all. If I touch a ghost, they kind of just cease to exist. Poof, exorcised or whatever." Chemo looks at her and says, "Who would have thought Hollywood would get something wrong?" Flatline says, "I know, right? The Sixth Sense was much closer." Chemo says, "Yeah?" She says, "Yeah." The camera pulls back from the two of them, and we can see Golden Glider and Mirror Master sitting in a different car. They hold hands and lean against one another. So at this point I'll reveal that Golden Glider and Mirror Master are a couple in this film. Something that's not canon in really any DC stuff I've ever seen, but it's something I'm going with. Golden Glider says, "You know, this movie always reminded me of our trip to Mexico." Mirror Master says, "The one with the zombies?" Golden Glider says, "Yep, that's the one. That trip was so romantic." Mirror Master says, "Romantic is where my mind usually goes when I think of the undead." Golden Glider says, "You never did like the supernatural. Honestly, I think you picked the wrong line of work." Mirror Master says, "Tell me about it. The worst part of this job is the co-workers." He smiles, then kisses her on the lips. She says, "We didn't know how good we had it back then, did we?" Mirror Master looks at her and smiles. "It'll get better." She says, "I hope so." A man enters the parking lot. We can see it's Lex Luthor. He calls out to the members sitting in the cars, "Everyone, Constantine is back." We cut to the inside of a large snack room. We can see posters hanging on the walls. One is for a Justice League movie. We see Lex Luthor, Batman, Mirror Master, Reverse Flash, and Golden Glider on the front. The camera moves back until we see a large table. Several people are gathered around it. We see Mirror Master, Golden Glider, Metallo, Lex Luthor, Chemo, Flatline, and John Constantine standing around the table. They're the last members of the Inverse Justice League left. Constantine says, "I'm telling you, I laid eyes on the thing. Soup's kept Bruce's contingency drive. He's been real hush-hush about it. I don't think he wants the other members to know he has it. That's to our advantage. It means they don't know it exists, which means they won't know to protect it." Chemo says, "How do we know this isn't a trick? You live with them. How can we trust you?" Constantine says, "I'm not like them. Have I ever fed you wrong information?" Chemo says, no, not yet. Constantine says, I am not one of them. I pretend to be. I turn a blind eye to the things they do because it gets me close. Close enough to get y'all information like this. This is what it was all about. Lex Luthor says, Constantine's trustworthy. He's as good as they come. I'd stake my life on it. Mirror Master says, as would I. Chemo says, fine. Where's Superman keeping this drive? Constantine says, beneath the Kent Corp off-site research facility. The one outside of Metropolis. That's where the Legion keeps their base of operation. Flatline says, why would they keep it there? What's Soup's connection to Kent Corp? Lex Luthor says, Superman is Clark Kent. Constantine says, yeah, you're right. How did you know? Lex Luthor said, I had a run-in with Kent only once. The day he stole my father's company from me. When I met the man, he filled me with dread. I always wondered, but now I know for sure. Chemo says, no wonder they've driven us to this point. Their leader is a fucking billionaire. Lex Luthor says, this just makes the choice more clear. We need any advantage we can get. We have to steal the drive. Even if it is risky, it contains ways to kill every single one of them. It would turn the table. Golden Glider says, we could use it to blackmail them. Metallo says, or just finish them for good. Your master shoots him a look. Metallo says, what? I'm just saying what we're all thinking. They need to go. Permanently. Chemo says, he's right. We've let them do whatever they please for too long. We have to stoop to their level if we ever want to win. Golden Glider says, I think you're all missing the obvious problem. Superman. If he wants to keep the drive safe, then getting to it will be impossibly hard. Constantine says, actually, I can help you there. About half the Legion is planning on leaving. The 2 Kryptonians, Zatanna and the Arrow for sure. A few others too, I believe. They're going to handle some prick on another planet. 2 days from now, Superman will be gone. Lex Luthor says, that's when we attack. It's a good plan. We'll have to iron out some kinks, but I think it's our best chance in years to make a real difference. With Bruce's contingencies, we will be able to kill all of the evil pricks once and for all. Let's put it to a vote. You know the rules. It's all or nothing. Lex raises his hands. I'm obviously in favor. Metallo says, me too. Chemo says, me as well. When it gets to Golden Glider, she hesitates but nods. I'm for it. They all turn to look at Flatline. Flatline looks nervous and then says, no. I think it crosses the line. We can't allow ourselves to be like them. Bruce obviously didn't want us to have the drive, or he would have given it to us himself. Chemo says, Nakia, would you allow us to talk for a moment, please? Alone. The others nod, and the 2 of them walk to a separate room. We can see old posters for various movies on the wall as they walk past. We see a poster for Sportsmaster the movie, with Sportsmaster triumphantly standing on the cover. He's holding a hockey stick and a tennis racket. Flatline says, I'm not changing my mind. We're supposed to be the good guys. Chemo says, we have no option, Nakia. You have to vote yes. This is the best opportunity we've had in years. We have to take it. We can't keep playing by our own rules. They aren't like us. They're bad people. They don't deserve second chances. Flatline says, everyone deserves second chances. Like you. I won't kill them, Matthew. We'd become just like them if we crossed that line. And Bruce warned us. Chemo says, Bruce is dead. He died fighting his war his way. You remember how it happened, don't you? Nakia looks away. Yeah, he had a chance. Like us. But he didn't take it. He appealed to Superman's humanity and learned he didn't have it. I don't want to see the same happen to you or anyone else here. Flatline says, but we're supposed to be better than that. Chemo says, we are. I know. But I don't see another option. Flatline says, I hate this, Matthew. Everything just feels so backwards. Without you, I don't know what I'd do. I'm scared. Chemo says, I know. I am too. But good always has a way of beating evil in the end. Good changed my mind. Pulled me away from them and brought me to you. Flatline says, the thing you said a couple weeks ago. About wanting to live a normal life together after all this. Did you mean that? Chemo says, I did. She mulls it over. Normal. Yeah. I think I'd like that. Chemo says, then we'll do it. Normal. To get there, you know what we'll have to do. Flatline says, yeah. The two of them walk back to the table. Flatline says, I'm changing my vote. I'm in. Lex says, then that leaves you, Sam. They all turn to look at Mirror Master. Mirror Master says, I won't kill them. Even if they're rotten to the core, I have principles, and I can't do that. It's wrong. But I can help you get the drive. Lex Luthor says, that's all we ask. It cuts to black. We're going to open on a Kent Corp building. We hear the song Hard Times by Baby Huey begin to play. We see John Constantine enter the sliding glass doors. We see the logo for Kent Corp hanging above the building. John approaches the front desk where a security guard sits. The security guard says, welcome back, Mr. Constantine. Will you be going below? Constantine says, yes, I will. The security guard says, do you have anything on your person which could create a reflective surface? Constantine says, no. The security guard says, alright, you're good to go in. John moves down the hall towards an elevator. We can see signs along the wall that say no mirrors or standing water past this point. John bumbles with something in his pocket as he gets into the elevator. He nervously looks around as the elevator begins to lower deeper down into the base. He steps out at the bottom and finds an empty room with the Legion of Evil symbol on the wall. He moves down the hall until he reaches a small closet. He hides himself inside. He pulls the strange object out of his pocket and pops it into his mouth. He bites on it and winces. He holds up his hand as energy begins to flow between his fingers. He presses them against the wall, and the wall transforms. It turns into a solid glass mirror. Its surface begins to ripple, and then the Justice League step free of it, led by Mirror Master. Mirror Master says, it worked. Constantine says, yeah, and the place is bloody empty. We've done it. Follow me. Superman keeps it in here. We see them move down the hall for a while. At one point, they pass a glass trophy case. Chemo stops and looks at it. His metal hands form into fists. Inside the glass case, we can see torn and bloody pieces of clothing, each of them belonging to a superhero. We see a piece of Reverse Flash's costume, a part of the Joker's purple jacket stained with blood, a piece of Polka Dot Man's outfit, a piece of Black Manta's helmet, and lastly, a Japanese-style blade shaped like a cutlass. Chemo says, bastards. Lex Luthor says, we'll pay them back tenfold. I promise. They enter a large room. A computer terminal sits in the center of it. Constantine says, that's what opens it. Lex Luthor says, allow me. Constantine says, it's booby-trapped. Lex Luthor says, I know. We get an extended sequence of Lex Luthor disabling traps and lasers and things with his own personal tech. He has all these little gadgets and things, tech that he uses to do it. For kind of a fun sequence. I won't waste your time describing it here. You can kind of use your imagination. He finally reaches the computer and begins to hack into it. After a few seconds of doing that, we hear a click and he presses a button. A cylinder rises from the ground and unleashes mist as it does. Lex Luthor pushes another button and the cylinder slowly opens up. Inside, we see a bloody Batarang. Luthor says, what the shit? We hear a voice from the darkness. It's Superman. That's the one I used to kill him, you know. He put up a good fight for a mere human. I was right, Kara. I told you they'd take the bait. Golden Glider yells, it's a trap. Superman and Supergirl both float out from the shadows of the room. Superman smiles when he sees them. So here you are, the sorry remnants of the Justice League, and I was hoping for more. Is this really what you've been reduced to? Just shadows of your former selves. You used to put up more of a fight. I suspected you weren't really with us, Constantine, so I let you hear a fake rumor. I'm disappointed that my suspicions were correct. You had such potential. We see Zatanna step out from the shadows next to Superman. John, what have you done? John turns to Mirror Master in a panic. You know the escape plan. He vanishes into a puff of smoke. We see Zatanna holding her wand in her hand. She snaps and vanishes too. Superman slams himself down into the ground, bending the metal into a crater. It's gonna break my heart to kill you all. I'll miss the cat and mouse game we've always had. It'll be so boring without you. Lex Luthor tries to pull a gun with some sort of kryptonite piston out from his pocket. Before he can fire it, an arrow strikes through the crystal growing out of the top of it and shatters it, sending the kryptonite to the ground and disabling the gun. We see a green arrow stick into the ground behind him. Superman makes an annoyed face. He turns to the upper darkness. Arrow, you weren't invited. We hear a voice from the shadows. Sorry, I just couldn't miss the party. Superman says, stay out of this. They're ours. Metallo says, you don't have to do this, Superman. We don't want to have to fight you. Superman says, I'd imagine not. After all, this isn't a fight any of you will be leaving. Metallo says, don't be so sure. Superman smiles again. Oh, Metallo, if it weren't so cliche, I'd say I brought you into this world and I can take you out of it. Look at you all. What happened to you guys? I mean, you used to have fun characters. Who's that one who shot Ketchup? The Earmaster looks up. He was called Condiment King. Yes, that's the one. I liked him. He was funny. Broke my heart when I ripped out his spine. But what can you do, right, Kara? Supergirl looks eager. Come on, Cal. Can't I kill them already? I've been waiting. Superman says, you're too eager, Kara. We're having a nice conversation. You should bask in our victory. We see a face twisted with rage on Lex's face. He pulls out a second gun from his belt and fires a shot at Superman. This one doesn't have kryptonite, so it just bounces off his chest and leaves a steaming mark behind. Superman laughs. That was a mistake. His eyes begin to glow red. Supergirl says, Cal, let me. The red fades from his eyes. He turns and looks at her. Fine, but don't make it too quick. We want to make an example out of them. Don't want any more weeds growing up to take their place. Supergirl says, as you say, I'll give them a 5-minute head start. The Justice League just stands there nervously. Supergirl says, that means run. They do run. Chemo says, they fucking played us. What are we going to do? Mirror Master says, the escape plan is still good. We just have to make it to the mirror. Luthor says, will it even still be there? Mirror Master says, why wouldn't it be? Luthor says, they got Constantine. I don't know much about magic, but I'd guess you have to be alive to keep it active. Mirror Master's eyes go wide. He hadn't thought of that. Golden Glider says, I can fly ahead. See if it's still there. I'm faster than you guys. Mirror Master says, do it. She floats off the ground and flies down the hall. Lex says, let's just hope Constantine can hold on if he isn't already dead. We're in a hard cut to a dark black void. We see Constantine standing alone in the middle of the dark void. Blackness surrounds him, going on forever. His foots leave behind shallow ripples in a pool of black water. Constantine says, pocket dimension, Z. Show yourself. I know this is your work. The words echo around him, and then Zatanna appears in front of him. She's crying. Why? She asks. Constantine doesn't answer at first. Zatanna asks again, why? Constantine says, you know why, Z. Zatanna says, you know, I thought you loved me. Constantine says, maybe I did once, but you're too far gone, Z. All of you are. Zatanna says, you know what they're going to make me do to you, don't you? Yeah, I know. I just couldn't stand by and watch anymore. Zatanna says, God, that is so like you. You could never see past this moral naivete you have. Why would you make me do this? A magical energy begins to form in her hands. Constantine's hands burst into fire as well. Constantine says, I don't want to have to do this either, Z, but I have to help the others, and I won't let you stand in my way. Zatanna shakes her head. Oh, John, they're already dead. They were corpses the second you brought them in here. We're going to cut to the Justice League running down the halls. Flatline says, this isn't right. We must have made a wrong turn. We should have already been there. Lex Luthor says, Constantine was the one who knew the layout. This place is like a maze. Mirror Master says, Glider hasn't come back yet. Flatline says, that could mean anything. Mirror Master says, that's what worries me. They turn a corner, and we see Supergirl floating in the air. She's holding Golden Glider by the neck. Mirror Master lets out a moan of anguish. Supergirl says, found you. Mirror Master, look what I caught. She holds out her hand, and we can see it's around Golden Glider's neck. She looks scared and injured. Her eyes lock on Mirror Master and become sad. Supergirl says, what should I do with you? Got any ideas, Goldie? Golden Glider's eyes shift to look at Supergirl. She spits and says, one day, you'll get what's coming to you. Supergirl says, I doubt that. Golden Glider quickly turns to look at Mirror Master. Sam, I look... Supergirl snaps her neck like a twig before she can finish the sentence. Supergirl lets the body fall to the floor without a care. It thuds dead. We can see Golden Glider's cold, dead eyes staring up. Supergirl says, oops. Mirror Master screams. He starts to run towards her in a fury. We see Supergirl roll her eyes sarcastically. They begin to glow red, and two lasers fire towards Mirror Master. A large metal hand jerks him out of the way, and we see Metallo step up in front of Mirror Master. Metallo says, no, Sam. The others need you. You're the only way out. Supergirl says, it's useless. There's no reflective surfaces anywhere in the building. I saw to it myself. There is no escape. Metallo says, you shut up. He points a metal finger towards her. Supergirl says, make me. Metallo runs at her and throws a punch as the others flee from the fight. Supergirl catches it and throws Metallo through a wall. We see him crash into a research lab of some sort. We see they're researching plants. We can see some of Poison Ivy's living Venus flytrap things inside of a glass container. On one section of the wall, we can see Poison Ivy's body suspended in some kind of green liquid. Metallo gets up from the ground and looks around. Supergirl floats through the hole Metallo's body made in the wall. Metallo says, what is this? What have you done to Ivy? Supergirl says, you know, we found where she retired to. Now she's dead. We were trying to find some use for her body, but turned out to be a dead end. Metallo says, you're monsters. All of you. He opens up his chest, and the bright light of the kryptonite shines on Supergirl. She looks surprised and falls to the ground. Metallo marches over to her as she tries to get back onto her feet, and he slams a fist into her chest, followed by her head. She's thrown to the ground and holds a shaky hand up to her nose as blood runs down. She looks so surprised. She's never been hurt. Metallo says, Glider was right. You're going to get what you deserve. They're going to fight. It's going to go on for a little bit. I'm just going to kind of like breeze through it. Basically, it's a slugfest, as I always say. Two powerhouses fighting each other. But Metallo is wiping the floor with Supergirl overall. He gets one good hit on her, and then hits her again and again. She's on the ground now. He picks her up. He hits her face again. Again. He throws her against the wall, then knees her in the face. Her face is a bloody mess. He holds his hand back, and his sword slides free of his metallic suit. He slams it towards her, finishing the job, and a hand catches his arm, throwing Metallo back. We see Superman floating down. Kara is coughing up blood. She's severely beaten, near death. Superman laughs. Let this be a lesson, Kara. You underestimated your opponent, assumed your own superiority. He would have killed you if I hadn't come. Be more careful next time. We're going to hard cut to Zatanna and Constantine in a battle. They're flinging magic spells back and forth at each other, but we can tell Constantine is holding back. Constantine reflects one of Zatanna's spells, and it slams into her. Zatanna is thrown to the ground as the void falls away. They're back in the large chamber where they started. John looms over her. We can see his hands engulf into fire. He makes as if he's going to burn her alive, then lets the fire wink out. Zatanna takes the opportunity. She blasts him and he falls to the floor. Now it's Zatanna that hovers over John. A magical spear forms in her hand, and she holds it to his throat. Constantine says, "Just bloody do it." Zatanna says, "Was any of it real to you? Back when you said you loved me? Did it mean anything back then?" Constantine says, "All of it." She can tell it's the truth, and she starts to cry. The magic spear disappears from her hands, and her head slumps. She can't do it. Then we hear a thunk. She looks down, and we see an arrow sticking out of Constantine's chest. Blood begins to run from his mouth. He looks confused and says, "Z?" Zatanna turns, and we can see Green Arrow perched where he was before. He laughs and hops down. We see the life leave John's eyes, and Zatanna screams, "What did you do?" Green Arrow says, "What you couldn't. You know Clark would have done it anyway. He would have killed you for sparing his life. Seems like a waste of talent to me." Zatanna looks up at him. We can see blood on her shirt and hands from Constantine. Arrow says, "The way I see it, you owe me one." We're going to cut back to the Justice League running through the halls. As the rest keep moving, Chemo slowly falls behind and then stops. Flatline notices and stops too. "What are you doing, Matthew?" Chemo says, "Metallo, he needs my help. We can do it. I can help him do it. Kill the Kryptonian." Flatline says, "Superman wouldn't let you get close." Chemo says, "He would. Superman wants something from me. He always has. I can get close. Get him to drop his guard, maybe." Lex Luthor chimes in. "And do what? Even your suit can't hurt him. It's not strong enough. Trust me, I've tried." Chemo says, "No, I wouldn't use the suit. Even the Man of Steel can't survive radiation poisoning. I'm going to do what I should have done a long time ago." Flatline says, "No, not that. You'd leave yourself wide open to him." Chemo says, "Nakia, I don't have time to argue. It's got to be me. I can help Metallo." Flatline says, "Then I'll go with you. I won't leave you." Chemo says, "You'd die for nothing the second I opened my suit. I couldn't do that. Beyond that, you're too important to the cause." Lex Luthor says, "Whatever you do, do it quickly. We don't have time to linger." Flatline says, "What, you're okay with him throwing his life away?" Chemo says, "If that's what it takes to beat them, that's what I'll do." Nakia nods. Tears are streaming down her face. Chemo says, "Besides, you've seen the other side, and it's not that bad, right?" His large mechanical hand delicately wipes away one of her tears. "Remember what I told you. We can't play by their rules anymore. I'm doing this so you can fight on. You have to kill them, Nakia. No mercy. Not for them." Flatline repeats it like a mantra. "No mercy." Chemo says, "I love you." And Flatline says, "I love you too. Please try to come back to me." Chemo says, "I promise." Flatline says, "I love you too. Please, promise me you'll try to come back." Chemo says, "I promise." He turns away and runs down the hall towards the Metallo fight. We see Superman and Metallo fighting each other. Metallo's suit is beaten and dented. Superman has blood running from his nose. Metallo's actually given him a beating using the kryptonite in his chest. Metallo throws Superman against the wall, and we see Superman thrust his hand into the wall. As Metallo throws Superman against the wall, we see Superman thrust his hand into the wall. Metallo opens up his chest, revealing his kryptonite-impaled heart. We can tell Superman is weakened by its green glow. He pulls his hand free from the wall with a piece of rebar. Superman hurls it forward, slamming it into Metallo's kryptonite heart and knocking it free. We see the heart fly forward, stuck on the end of the rebar, and impale itself into the wall behind him. The kryptonite shatters. Superman says, "It was about time I fixed one of my biggest mistakes. Goodbye, Metallo." He laughs as Metallo's body falls to the ground, just as Chemo enters the room, too late to save his friend. "No!" he cries. Superman turns and spots him. "Ah, Matthew, I was hoping to talk to you one-on-one. I have an offer." Chemo says, "Not interested." Superman says, You really should hear me out. As we speak, the rest of the Legion is coming. I called them. And do you know what I told them to do when they arrive? Superman smiles again. There's something so sinister to it. Chemo doesn't answer. Oh, come on, guess. Chemo's metal suit forms a fist. Not in a playful mood today, huh? I told them to kill your friends. Nothing personal. It just has to be done. But I can make exceptions. Luthor and Mirror Master have to die, of course. They're figureheads, old guard, you understand. But your little girlfriend... Flatline, right? I could spare her. Chemo says, what made you like this? Superman says, I could ask you the same thing. You used to be like me. Vicious. A killer. Now you're some neutered puppy following around the Justice League like a pet. It's a downgrade, and an unflattering one. You're wasted on them, Matthew. You belong with us. With me. I remember how you used to be. Chemo says, I hated who I was with you. I was too blind to see what you really were then. What I really was. But I see it now. Superman says, you let that woman get to you. You were always weak to her, even back then. So what do you think is going to happen here? How is this going to play off in your perfect world? Chemo says, I'm going to kill you. Superman says, you know how many times I've heard that? It just never happens. Please, try. I welcome the sport. Chemo says, you shouldn't be so confident. Even the cells of the Man of Steel will die to radiation. Chemo's suit hisses to life, and we see him slowly step out. His eyes are glowing green, and the veins under his skin glow green as well. We hear the Geiger counter in his suit begin to go wild as the radiation increases. It flies all the way over into the red. We see Superman react to the radiation, but it's not how we expect. He laughs. I think you've made a small mistake, Matthew. It's not something I like to tell people, but who cares? You're not going to live through the day anyway. I get my powers from the radiation of the sun. We see the fear and horror run across Chemo's eyes. Too late. Superman walks towards him. What's that thing your beloved Flatline always said she could do when we fought? Oh, that's right. Superman flies forward and slams a fist inside of Chemo's chest. It punches all the way through, and we can see Chemo's heart gripped in Superman's hand. It faintly glows green. He pulls it free and shows it to Chemo with a smile on his face. Yeah, I think I'll send this to her in a gift wrap box for her birthday. Chemo tries to reach out and finish Superman. Grab him, fight him, anything. But he only stumbles forward and falls to the ground, dead. The green glow from his body fades away. Superman lets the heart fall to the floor and steps on it. It explodes. What a waste of talent. A door opens and Superman turns. We see Zatanna walk in. Cal, Constantine is dead. The others escaped into a mirror we missed. I could search for them. Superman laughs. Don't bother. Let the cockroaches scatter. Today we dealt them a death blow. The Justice League will fall to infighting. And we'll pick them apart one by one after that. Our fight is won at last, Zatanna. It's over. He laughs with triumph as the camera zooms into the S on his chest. Soon we're in darkness, and we see the title of the movie drop. Justice League Dark, Elseworlds. Each letter shifts in fonts and colors. Finally, the colors of the title begin to shift until they're a colorful striped pattern. It remains consistent. The camera moves into that until we're overlooking a large circus tent. We pass through a museum of curiosities inside a tent. Inside one case, we see a shattered dawn spear. In another, a strange mummy. In the background, we see a poster for the Incredible Shrinking Man. And a, old-fashioned version of the Atom suit. Lastly, the camera passes by a sword. It's unusual looking, and we can see it's labeled the Sword of Night. Our view moves into another tent. We see a few animal cages filled with extra animals. Filled with tigers and elephants and all kinds of other animals. Finally, we see a young chimpanzee sitting with a man. Text on screen says, Earth 528. The man is named Fred. He says, You're ready, Bobo. You've got this. The chimp coos nervously. I know, buddy, I know. Not much longer now. Who's the greatest detective in the world? The monkey points to himself. Fred smiles. That's right. You were born for this. He slides a Sherlock Holmes-esque hat onto the monkey's head. You're my detective. We're going to cut to the middle of a circus tent. We see a ringleader standing in the middle of the spotlight. He twirls his cane in the air and the audience claps. Now you've seen spectacles and wonders beyond imagination. You've seen elephants balance on balls. The flying Graysons defy gravity. You've even seen a man tame a lion. But what I have to show you next isn't like anything you can find at any other circus. A curiosity I discovered deep in the jungles of the Congo. An ape capable of thought unlike anything you've seen before. He has a mind for solving crimes. Never fails to solve a case. Murder, kidnapping, robbery. He's cracked them all. I give you the greatest detective who has ever lived. The spotlight shines and then comedically lowers down to an ape dressed like Sherlock Holmes. The announcer declares, "The Detective Chimp." The audience goes wild as Detective Chimp walks onto the stage with his magnifying glass in hand. The ringleader says, "You see, there's been a murder." The stage light shines onto a woman covered in fake blood lying on the ground. We can clearly see she's still breathing. Detective Chimp walks over and mimes investigating her body with a magnifying glass. He reaches into her hand and pulls out a handkerchief. The announcer bounds over and snatches it from Detective Chimp. "Why, the Chimp's found a clue. This is our first step into leading us to our killer." We're going to hard cut to an empty tent. Everyone's gone. We see Fred sitting with Detective Chimp. He says, "You did great. The audience was eating that up. We made so much money today, boy." The monkey coos and waddles over to a small pin area. He climbs inside his own cage and begins to play with a ball. He looks up to his owner and frowns. His owner says, "I know you don't like the shows. I'm sorry, buddy. Just a few more and we'll be able to move on to something better. I promise. It'll be wide open spaces and bananas like you couldn't imagine. Whatever you want. This is our shot at a better life." We see a shot of Detective Chimp looking up at his owner. The camera turns and we see his owner's face. It's beaten to a pulp and smashed in. His eyes are bulging and part of his brain is falling out of his skull. Blood runs from his eyes and nose. He says, "Things are gonna get better, little detective." We're gonna cut to an apartment building. We see Detective Chimp sit up in his bed. He's breathing wildly from the nightmare and catches his breath. He looks older now than he did in the flashback and is somehow less chimp-like. Detective Chimp says, "Same damn nightmare." He pours himself a shot of alcohol from a glass beside his bed and drinks it. We see him get up and look out the window. We can see Central City, but completely covered in jungle. The city's been modified to suit apes. He approaches a hat rack on his door, and snags the iconic detective hat. We can see the sword from the circus leaning against the rack as well. It's a medieval-looking night hat. Detective Chimp heads out the door. So real fast, I'm going to mention that in the post-credit scene I revealed Detective Chimp, and I didn't know what I was doing with him besides I decided I was using that character. I had like an outline for him. I hadn't read any of his comics at that point, and I hadn't ironed out his character. So this is retconning his personality in that. You can consider that after-credit scene non-canon. Everything here is going to basically repeat that sequence. So that didn't happen, that's not canon, and that personality is not going to carry over to this version of the character. Detective Chimp moves through Central City. We see apes like climbing on ape-built stuff, whatever, let your imagination go out. I'd let some designers do this. That's not really what I do here. The city has just been modified to support apes, sort of like maybe some inside jokes to like Planet of the Apes, which is obviously what I'm going for here. I'm trying to hide it. Finally, he arrives to what appears to be the Central City news station. A large orangutan sitting in a chair says, "You're late, Bobo." Detective Chimp says, "Sorry, I slept through my alarm." The orangutan says, "Grodd called a meeting of all the high apes. I'll need your insights. Might be something juicy for the paper." Detective Chimp says, "All of them." The orangutan says, "That's correct." Detective Chimp says, "That's never happened before, right?" The orangutan says, "Once, when the last human died." Detective Chimp says, "Oh." His boss says, it's bound to be something interesting. You're the detective. Get to the palace and get me a story. I've got you press passes. We're going to cut to Grodd's palace. It's a grand room filled with apes. In front of a crowd of all the crowds of apes, Grodd sits on a massive throne. It's inlaid with human skulls. We recognize the room as the Central City Theater. We see Detective Chimp in the crowd. He watches Grodd skeptically. Grodd stands from his throne. Apes! I thank you for gathering. Grodd holds his hands out. I found myself remembering the past. Remembering in Star Labs. How many apes remember what life was like before Grodd? We were locked in cages. We were slaves. I gave you freedom. I gave you minds better than any human. The audience goes wild with cheers. Grodd holds his hands up for silence. Yesterday, our brave soldiers found something hiding in the jungles. Something I thought was gone for good. Humans! Murmurs scatter through the audience of apes. We see Detective Chimp's eyes go wide. I thought the last of them had gone, but a few seem to have survived like the rats they are. We will give them what they never gave us. A trial. Bring forth the humans. Two large gorillas drag Xanadu, Shade, and Element Woman onto the stage. They throw them to their knees. The audience of apes gasp and curse and spit at them. Grodd says, Humans! What say you in your defense? What say you to justify your actions? We see Shade preparing to do something. The shapes on his duster begin to move, but Xanadu gestures for him to calm down. She stands. There seems to have been a misunderstanding. We have done nothing to your kind. We come from a world far from here, a universe alternative to your own. We didn't mean to end up here. We ask humbly if you could help us return to where we came from. Grodd says, Help you! Humans didn't help apes when we suffered. Humans jeered us, mocked us, tortured and experimented on us. Why would I help you now? Grodd is king. Grodd made this world great again. Sorry, I couldn't help but make a reference to Make America Grodd Again. That was the closest I could get without losing myself in the sauce. Xanadu says, You don't understand. We aren't from here. Suddenly Xanadu floats off the ground and is poured towards Grodd. You think we do not understand? We're smarter than you humans ever gave us credit for. It was you who underestimated us. Xanadu is pulled up to Grodd. Grodd smiles, revealing his sharp gorilla teeth. They're so close to her head. You humans should have stayed extinct. Grodd thrusts his hand out. Xanadu is thrown back to the ground. The crowd goes wild with cheers. Grodd stands, holding his hands up. The humans have not changed. They still seek to control us, to hurt us. Take them back to the cells, and let it be known to all apes in New Gorilla City. Tomorrow, we execute the last of the humans. We're going to smash cut to Flatline and Mirror Master staring at John and Zatanna in the present. Flatline says, Bullshit. Mirror Master says, Nakia. Flatline says, Oh, I'm sorry. Horseshit and bullshit. Don't tell me you're buying this, Sam. Mirror Master says, We should hear them out. Flatline says, Oh yeah, it'll be just like last time we heard him out. She points to Constantine. I doubt you forgot that day. Zatanna says, I don't know what you think is happening here, but we are telling you the truth. We've been marooned in your universe. Next thing I know, Green Arrow was trying to kill me. Thanks for saving us, by the way. Flatline says, I wasn't trying to save you. I was trying to kill Robin Hood in tights. Mirror Master says, How do you explain him? He points to Constantine. Magic? Jesus, Sam. You've seen the shit they used to do. Flatline says, What I want to know is how he's alive and why she isn't being a complete prick. Zatanna says, It's difficult to explain, but our universe couldn't be more different than this place. Mirror Master says, You're from an alternative reality. One where you're good and we're bad. Zatanna says, That's actually exactly it. How did you know? Mirror Master says, I've looked into worlds like that too often. I don't care why you're here, or how even. I think it could be a gift. Flatline says, oh, you are going for it. You're thinking of working with them. Constantine I'd consider, but her? Never her. Mirror Master says, would the two of you be kind enough to give me a moment alone with Flatline? Constantine says, I don't see why not. I got a ciggy with my name on it. I could use a smoke after all this. John and Zatanna both leave the room. Flatline says, I don't trust her. Mirror Master says, I know. Flatline says, I don't know how you can. After what her organization took from you, from me? Flatline looks off into the distance and then back at Mirror Master. We fell for this trick once before. How many times do I have to say it? Mirror Master sighs. I know. Nakia, can I show you something? Flatline shrugs. Why not? Mirror Master takes her over to the large reflective mirror in the center of the room. The two of them step into the mirror dimension. They're surrounded by shifting, fracturing, reflective mirrors. Mirror Master says, when you look, what do you see, Nakia? Flatline says, I'm mostly hurting people, killing them pointlessly. And a few I help. We see reflections all around her. In one, we see she pulls Robin's heart out of his chest. A fun reference to her comic iteration in that one panel. Mirror Master says, then yours are better than mine. I'm always hurting someone or stealing something. I realized a long time ago I was alone in my kindness. We see Mirror Master's reflection surrounding him as well. In one, he stands on top of a pile of money, laughing. In another one, we see him briefly battling the Flash. In one universe, we see him breaking into a prison with a giant red star stamped onto the wall. Lastly, we see a universe where he and Golden Glider are robbing a bank together. Mirror Master says, I think I'm a fluke, Nakia. A single, kind version among a symphony of horror and destruction. In nearly every reflection, I see the people I hate the most, and they're kind. Saving lives, helping people for nothing. Hell, they're better at it than us. I believe those two are telling the truth. I think they could save us. But I won't do it without you, because we're a team. Flatline looks off to the side towards nothing and cocks her head. She slowly turns back and looks at Mirror Master. Fine. I'll hear them out. Mirror Master says, that's all I ask. We're going to cut to the shadow dimension. We see a decorated metal table with a large teapot set in the middle. It's in the middle of a field of flowers and grass. Only past all the flowers in the field, there's an endless moving, shifting darkness that coats everything. Sitting at the table, we see Dorothy Spinner. Across from her sits the Upside Down Man. Upside Down Man delicately picks up a teapot and pours Dorothy a glass, then does the same for himself. He says, I'm so glad you're back, Dorothy. I'm so glad you're back. I've missed you so much. I've waited for this for so long. Dorothy says, I'm not who you think I am. Upside Down Man says, but you are. You are the avatar of light. My opposite, my soulmate. You left me once, but you're back now. All is forgiven. It can be like it was. Dorothy says, I don't know you. Upside Down Man nods. No, I suppose you don't. Haven't you ever wondered why your imaginations come to life? You are God, Dorothy. You are creation and light incarnate in its most pure form. Just as I am destruction and darkness made manifest. We complement each other, you see. You broke the balance for so long, but now that you're back, it can be just like how it used to be. Light and dark, good and evil. You can make beautiful things that grow, and I can create the darkness that destroys. A perfect balance. Dorothy looks confused. I'm a god? Upside Down Man says, in your infancy, yes. At the dawn of the universe, there was light and there was dark. You and me. Opposites, yet the same. One only existing with the other. You created entire universes, and I destroyed them. It was perfect, and we had so much fun. Dorothy says, if what you're saying is true, then why don't I remember? Upside Down Man frowned. That's a question with a long answer. To put it simply, you went and created life. something different than the imaginary friends we'd made before. These things spread independently of us and made decisions different than what we wanted. They spread like a plague. It was this life you made that caused the multiverse to explode out of control. After a couple thousand years of them all making their own little decisions, reality had begun to splinter. Soon, one world became any number of infinite Elseworlds. It really was a mess. But the worst of it was that you let yourself grow too attached to them. Then, you tried to leave me for them. I wouldn't let that happen. So I did what I always do. I tried to destroy them. All of them. So they could never take you away. Dorothy says, "You tried to kill all life?" Upside Down Man says, That is exactly what the old light said when she found out. She said her precious humans were different from the little balls of rock we'd made before. But they aren't. Her precious life is just something else for me to destroy. I know. Let's play like we used to. Dorothy looks around nervously. We can see the shadows moving past the table, surrounding the quaint little field. The living shadow lurks just outside their view. There's no way for her to escape. She has to go along with this. How do I play? So Dead Man says, well, that's easy. You just have to create something. Use your imagination. Make something. Dorothy says, it doesn't work like that. Upside Down Man says, oh, but it does. You just never understood the full extent of what you can do. Come on. You're a god, remember? Just imagine something. Close your mind and focus on it with all of your being. Dorothy closes her eyes tight. We can see that she's focusing. Then we hear a bird singing. She opens her eyes and we see a bizarre, brightly colored songbird dancing on the ground in front of Dorothy. Her eyes go wide. She said, I did it! Upside Down Man says, see, I told you. The little songbird looks at Dorothy. It sings a happy little song. Upside Down Man smiles. Now it's my turn. Suddenly the bird begins to twist into a bloody pulp. Its eyes bug out of its skull and it explodes into a mess of gore. Upside Down Man claps to himself with joy. That was great! Just like how it used to be. See? Isn't this just so fun? He laughs to himself with joy. The camera lingers on Dorothy as a horrified look grows across her face. Yeah, fun. We're gonna cut back to the Ape Earth, as I'm calling it. We see the Justice League Dark being thrown back into their cells. Xanadu says, admittedly, that could have gone better. Shade says, you think? Can we try the direct approach now? Xanadu says, not quite yet. I haven't worked out all the kinks with my magic. Even if we escape, we won't be able to escape this universe. I think I need time to think. Shade says, right. You have about 24 hours to figure it out before our heads roll. Literally. What do we do about her? We see Element Woman standing in the corner. Her head is in her hands. Xanadu says, let her be. Shade says, fine. Xanadu says, I'm going to seek counsel in the future. Please don't start a fight while I'm gone. Shade says, I won't. The camera focuses in on Xanadu as she tries to meditate. We see her eyes roll back into her head. Shade sighs. He glances over at Element Woman. Shade asks, do you at least have a name? Element Woman says, my mother called me Emily. Somehow I don't think that's really my name. Shade raises an eyebrow. Element Woman says, how are you not panicking? Shade says, what do you mean? Element Woman says, God, can't you feel it? It's everywhere. He's coming. Shade says, who? Element Woman says, the Lord of the Shadows. He knows. Shade frowns and looks back to Xanadu. Her eyes are still white, in a vision. We're going to cut inside of Xanadu's vision. We see flashes of the same visions as before. An apocalyptic destruction of the metropolis we know and love. It's consumed by the living shadow as Zatanna and Constantine try to escape. They throw down a portal ring and just barely jump through in time. Xanadu yells, how does it happen? Show me! I have to stop it! Suddenly, she's dropped into a new scene. The place she's been to before that we know is the Shadow Dimension. Long pillars filled with darkness form a hall. At its end is a stone throne. We hear a voice echoing in the distance. It's Dorothy. But perhaps they don't need to die. I will stay here with you if you spare them. It could be like how it was. That's what you want, right? Please. Xanadu turns around and we see Dorothy Spinner. She's talking to Upside Down Man. The strange, disgusting-looking ancient being rubs his chin as if in thought. Do you really mean it? You told me we would be together forever last time, and then you left me for them. How could I ever trust that you won't do it again? Dorothy says. I don't know, but you just gotta trust me. You can't destroy them. Upside Down Man says, I don't... Wait. That's not right. Upside Down Man turns and stares right at Xanadu. You shouldn't be here. Xanadu looks surprised. Upside Down Man points a finger at her, and she's thrown from her vision. We see her wake up back in the jail cell, panting. Xanadu says, we have to get out of here. Something is coming. Shade says, Xanadu, you've been out for 6 hours. They're going to execute us when the sun rises. Xanadu says, 6 hours. Shade says, yeah, in a coma. Xanadu says, you don't understand what I saw. It's Dorothy. She's with something I've never seen before. It terrifies me. Element Woman says, the Lord of Shadows. Xanadu looks at her. How do you know that? I've been trying to tell you. He's coming. Shade says, if he's coming, then we'll kill it and save Dorothy. But first, we have to get out of here. We hear a voice. I can help with that. They all look up, and we see Detective Chimp standing in front of the prison cell. He's carrying a sword. He's carrying the sword from his house, and is drenched in blood. I can get you out of New Gorilla City. We're going to cut to Inverse Earth. Constantine says, so can you explain what in the bloody hell is going on in this world? Your master says, I can try. In your world, we are the bad guys, and our Legion of Doom is your Justice League. I think you need to understand our enemy. What sort of people they are. Our version of Zatanna killed her own father at the age of 14. That was just the start of her crimes. She's hurt a lot of good people. She fought under Superman until he vanished with the rest of the Legion's founders. Zatanna says, they're dead. They died after invading our universe. Flatline says, no shit. I wish I could have seen that. Zatanna says, I think, technically you did. Flatline says, you knew the other me? What am I like there? Zatanna says, no, I never knew you. Others on my team did though. But you died, saving the world. Or so they say. Zatanna looks to her left, then back at Zatanna. So I was good in your world? Mostly, I guess, Zatanna says. Constantine says, God, if Z was that bad, then your version of me must have been a real prick. Your master says, no, far from it. You were a hero to us. You put your life down to save others. Constantine says, oh, but surely I must have done something wrong. Killed someone or murdered a baby or something. Your master says, you infiltrated the Legion. You lived among them for years, all to get us information. You feared for a time that what small darkness there was in you would grow to consume you. Your facade took its toll, but you never wavered. You never let that darkness consume you. In many ways, you were the bravest of us all. Constantine puts his hand in his head. Well, that's just fucking great. I was a real saint then. Mirror Master says, you were one of the best of us. That was until our Zatanna found out and took your life. Zatanna says, God, I did? We see Constantine take a step away from Zatanna. Zatanna gives him an eye. Constantine says, why? It's just in case. Flatline says, the truth is, we've been trying to find a way to kill them for ages. That hunt nearly wiped us out. But they're down to their B team now. The weakest they've ever been. The problem is, we just don't know how to stop them. But you fought alongside them. You must know their weaknesses. Zatanna says, well, I do, but I don't know. Flatline says, I'll just have to convince you. Sam, do you still have the Robin tape? Mirror Master says, yeah. Flatline says, get it. Mirror Master says, are you sure? Flatline says, it'll get the point across. Mirror Master sighs. He nods and walks off. He returns carrying a DVD. They put it into a video player, and we see rough home shot footage of Damian Wayne as Robin tied to a chair. His face is bloodied, and his uniform has several cuts in it. He struggles against his bindings. We see Nightwing step into view. He turns to face the camera. Nightwing says, "This is a message for all those who remain of the Justice League. The Batman is dead. Superman killed him. You have no hope of success. We call for your surrender. If you do, you will be spared. You will be given a place of honor among the Legion. For those who foolishly choose not to join, I will demonstrate the consequences." He draws a sword and turns to Robin. Nightwing says, "I offer you the same chance, Damian." Damian says, "No. To hell with you." Nightwing says, "So be it." Any final words? Damian says, "How could you let them kill him?" Nightwing says, "The old bastard had it coming." Damian says, "He loved you, Dick." Nightwing says, "Yeah, well, we all make mistakes." Nightwing beheads Damian with a sword. We see Mirror Master look away. Flatline doesn't. She stares at the footage but looks sick to her stomach. We can see the beheading reflected in her eyes. We see Superman float into the frame of the video. Superman says, "This is your final warning. Your leader is dead. Join me or join him." The video flickers out. Constantine says, "Bloody hell." Zatanna says, "Yeah, bloody hell." Flatline says, "You get it now? This is only one of a long list of the evil shit they've done. They deserve to pay, and you're the only ones who can help us do it." Zatanna says, "Okay, we'll help you, but I'll need something in exchange. Once it's done, we need to get back to our homeworld. We can't stay here. I fear something bad may be coming for all of us." Mirror Master says, "Done. I'll do whatever I can to get you home. We're going to go on the offensive. We'll have to rally everyone who's left. There will be a man among them who can help you." Constantine leans in and whispers into Zatanna's ears, "Are you sure about this, Z? You're talking about killing the bloody Justice League." Zatanna says, "They aren't the Justice League here. I'm sure. Besides, I don't think you should be making any decisions. You're the reason we're here." Constantine says, "Sorry I saved your bloody life. Next time I just won't." Zatanna says, "You shouldn't have. We have to help them, John. It's right." Constantine says, "Fine. Just be careful. This whole world is backwards." Mirror Master says, "It's been a long day. We'll rest tonight. Tomorrow, we'll have you tell us everything you know about killing the Justice League." Alright, we're going to cut to the Shadow Dimension. We see Dorothy sitting behind the stone throne of Upside Down Man. She's crying. She looks in front of her and focuses. "Sergeant Stuffy, I need you." She closes her eyes and continues to focus, but nothing happens. Then we hear a voice. "Dorothy." Dorothy opens her eyes. "Who?" The voice says, "Up here." Dorothy looks up, and we see Dr. Mist's head on the spike just above the throne where Upside Down Man left it. His eyes open, and he looks down at her. "Are you okay, child?" Dorothy says, "How?" Dr. Mist says, "I cannot die. I have been beheaded before. Get me down from here. I can help you. We have to get out of here." So, yeah, Dr. Mist is not dead. As per his powers, even though he's a decapitated head, he's still around and kicking. We're going to cut to Inverse Earth. We see Flatline sitting in her room alone. We can see a poster for a Japanese city pop band hanging on the walls. There's a couple of Polaroids of her and Chemo together. We can also see a punching bag that's been beaten to shit. We can see remnants of blood from her knuckles left on it. She flops onto her bed and looks off towards nothing. "What do you think? Can we trust them?" We hear a voice. "I don't think we have much of a choice." Flatline says, "Yeah, that's what I was thinking. No more running from it. We do what needs to be done." The camera pans around to reveal a ghost. The ghost of Chemo. Our Dead Man. So I mentioned to people who've asked me that I was going to use Dead Man, but I said it wasn't going to be the usual version of Dead Man, that I was going to do something radically different. Our Dead Man is Chemo's ghost. Bear with me, I have a very specific arc in mind for this. Obviously, Flatline can communicate with him via her powers. Flatline says, "Do you want to practice some more?" Chemo says, "Sure." Flatline sets a teddy bear on the table. She says, "Move it." She holds a finger to her head and focuses. We see the ghost work its way over to the teddy bear. Chemo tries to touch it, but his fingers pass right through it. He tries again and again. Finally, he touches it one more time. His fingers move it ever so slightly. We can see the arms of the bear move. Chemo says, "That's progress." Flatline says, yeah, but it still gives me the worst headache. Kima says, who would have thought that possessing people would be easier than moving a stuffed bear? Flatline says, I've been thinking. I know you said that you want to move on once the Legion is destroyed. Go to the other side, I mean. But what if you didn't? What if we looked for a way to bring you back, or a way to make your possession permanent? Kima says, look at me, Nakia. I don't belong here. Flatline says, yeah. It's like some kind of sick joke. I've got you right here, but even now I still can't touch you. I hate it. Kima says, I know, Nakia, but you're gonna be alright when the time comes. Even without me. Flatline nods. I will be. Once I put my fist through Supergirl's heart. Kima says, now that's something I want to stay to see. Alright, that's the end of part 1. So I revealed a couple of things I've been keeping under wraps here, so hopefully y'all enjoyed this. I'm going to cut to the outro now. Oh, thank God I got that out on time. That was tight, man. I was about to get fired again, which sucks. So I've been Bjorn. Welcome. This has been my room. If you're looking for something else to watch, Thunderbolts, right here. More superhero cape shit. And, I don't know, Advanced Screening Adventures up here somewhere. Go watch that. I'm doing a new one tonight. It's Planet of the Apes. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So, like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.